Hi there, this is Gila. So Tommy Robinson has had a badly needed 2-week holiday in Tenerife, though he was hounded by a Daily Mail reporter while on holiday and turned the tables on him. There's some interesting footage of this encounter on YouTube. Tommy's upcoming retrial is on the 4th of September, and let us hope that whatever the outcome, that this brave man is not returned to jail after his appalling treatment in only prison. Now, if you're interested in learning more about what Islam actually teaches, I've just come across a former Muslim on YouTube who calls himself the Apostate Prophet, and I've put a link below. He appears to be very honest and open, as well as very informative and engaging. What I like personally is he's not trying to sell any other religion. Actually, he's an atheist now. But at the same time, he does respect other religious beliefs, though he always finishes his videos by saying, "Stay away from Islam." So while I believe very much in freedom, which is why I support Tommy Robinson, freedom of speech, of open inquiry, of freedom of belief, I hope you don't mind if I share some thoughts which certainly I think are important to ponder. It's up to you what you think. So while legally and socially the freedom to decide how to live your life, so long as you don't try to hurt others, is surely important, nevertheless, it seems that in this PC world of what's true for you isn't necessarily true for me, that we need, as well as being aware of the real threat to our freedoms from political Islamic ideology, to restore a respect for morality, which I hope deep in our hearts and consciences that we can all, well, at least most of us, I hope, relate to. Having a postmodern morass of nothing at all tangible to believe in is not going to help us find the strength to unite and to stand up for our freedoms and values. We need to have some idea of what they actually are. So, for instance, if you have a car and you're the only person in the entire world with a car, you can do whatever you like. You can go here, there, everywhere. Just hopefully not kill yourself in the process. That's freedom. But you don't live in a world with only one car. We live in a world with many, 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 many millions of cars, and that's why we have roads, that's why we have traffic lights, that's why we have rules, that's why we have laws. And although personally it may seem onerous at times, actually those restrictions give us much more freedom, because just imagine everybody wandering around in their cars without it. It would be a disaster. Of course, accidents are still going to happen, people are still going to be hurt and killed, but it's going to be far, far less than if there weren't those restrictions actually to help us all. So I think it's the same analogy with morality. What on the surface can appear to be restrictions on our lives are actually there to give us freedom. If you were the only human in the world, you could do whatever you liked, and the only consequences for humanity would be for you. But there are 7 billion of us on this planet, and the number is growing. What each one of us does impact on other people, and vice versa. No man is an island, as the poet John Donne once said, or woman. Now, whether you believe there is a creator or not, personally I do, surely the golden rule of both Christianity and Judaism of treating other people as you would like to be treated yourself is a very good way to go. And just as an aside, the Queen of England is actually still the head of the Church of England, and the one religion that binds most of us together, even if many people no longer actually subscribe to it, is Christianity. We're not talking about individual tastes which differ from person to person, but underlying needs. We all deserve respect as equal but different human beings, whether male or female. And this includes our property, which most of us have actually worked hard to be able to own. No stealing. And keeping up with the Joneses isn't necessarily the best way to be. It's not always easy, but we should try not to desire what someone else has, to be content with what we have, or to work honestly to acquire whatever we want in life. Now, as for our sexuality, this, of course, is an immensely powerful drive, second only to survival. But we're not cats and dogs. Sex cannot, in reality, be separated from emotional and also spiritual attachment, however much we kid ourselves that it can. Now, while it might appear outwardly the free thing to do, to have many sexual partners in our lives, hey, I really fancy you, let's hook up, especially when young, think about it. What truly makes a person free as a human being is surely to have the ability to choose to resist those desires and to be able to look for, and if necessary, wait for someone you have a real chance of making a good life with together in a loving and long-lasting marriage. Otherwise, while of course some people will be luckier and will find their way through and settle down, others can end up rejected, deeply hurt and damaged, and in the end not really whole enough to be able to make a real committed and loving relationship. And if there are children, their fundamental needs are for stability, that of a loving father and mother, living and loving together as they grow up. Now, of course, people make mistakes. We all have to deal with the reality of broken situations, and we can all get hurt, however careful we may try to be. But overall, the damage socially and personally is ultimately going to be less if there is more self-restraint sexually. Ironically, even though it can be hard, it is the restriction of morality which ultimately gives us more freedom rather than less. Now, I am talking about morality here, not social and legal freedoms, which we need to protect in a free society, but they're not the same thing. Okay, we should be free socially and legally, as long as we're not hurting others, to live our lives as we choose, but morally, perhaps more restraint would be a good idea. And we all surely desire to be treated fairly and justly by all other people, especially if we end up in a court of law, even if we deserve to be there and to be punished for harming other people. Now, of course, we should surely respect the many good people in this world whose religious understanding and practice, whether as Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs, and any others, genuinely helps them to become better, more loving people in their own lives. And if a particular religious path is the one you believe God wants you to take, so long as you don't go around oppressing or hurting other people and are becoming kinder and more loving over time, that is undoubtedly your way. After all, an infinite creator can surely relate to different people in infinite ways. Or if you can't believe there is a creator, you can also work to become a better, kinder, more loving human being. There are many good people who are agnostic or atheists as well. Surely what matters in the end is not the messenger, but the message. However, I would like to suggest, if you've not heard of it before, and this is entirely up to you, you might not be interested, maybe you are, there is a concept, a path recognized in Judaism, the parent religion of both Christianity and Islam. Now, without Judaism, there'd have been no Christianity or Islam, for that matter. Jews don't proselytize, and this path is for non-Jews, which is nearly everybody. And that of a Noahide comes from Noah, the flood Noah and the ark. There are essentially 7 moral laws, including requirements not to murder, not to steal, not to be cruel to animals, to keep sexual activity within the confines of a committed, loving relationship. In other words, within marriage. And also to make sure that there are courts of law and that justice is done and seen to be done by all people. You don't need to be bound by a particular religious system if that's not for you. But you can still live a good life and work on having a loving relationship with the Creator directly. There's a saying, keep the 7 and go to heaven. Anyway, I'll put a link below if anyone's interested and hasn't heard about this before. Whatever, the important thing is, it's okay to stand up for moral values and to talk about virtue and self-control, and to try and do better when we don't quite manage it, but recognize that whatever we do, we still deserve respect as human beings, every one of us. And as well as standing up for the rights of Tommy Robinson and all ordinary British people against what is, frankly, in Islam and in an inferior, oppressive political ideology with the dangerous religious imperative of an unchanging divine will, compared with the Judeo-Christian values of respect for all people, which have underpinned the striving and suffering of past generations for freedom and equality for us all, we surely need to think through and recognize the positive moral values that we're actually standing up for. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me, and I wish everyone a good day, good week, a good life. Thank you. Goodbye.